US strategists are unnerved by the Chenkai port in Peru developed by the Chinese. Watch all this in Defense Dynamics this Friday at 8:30 p.m. IST only on DD India.
Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Modi's 5-day global diplomatic engagements, 31 bilaterals held across 3 countries. Russian President Vladimir Putin says that the prospect of further strikes in Ukraine depends on the actions of the United States and its satellites. World leaders split as ICC issues arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu. Biden calls it outrageous, while EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell terms it binding. And in Baku, COP29 climate finance draft proposes $250 billion target from developed countries. Prime Minister Modi participated in 31 bilateral meetings and informal interactions with global leaders during his 3-nation foreign visit. In Nigeria, Prime Minister Modi held a bilateral meeting with the President of Nigeria. Thereafter, Prime Minister held 10 bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Brazil's Rio de Janeiro. During his visit to Guyana, Prime Minister held 9 bilateral meetings. In Brazil, Prime Minister Modi held bilateral meetings with leaders of Brazil, Indonesia, Portugal, Italy, Norway, France, UK, Chile, Argentina and Australia. Among the 10 bilateral meetings in Brazil, Prime Minister Modi held his first meeting with 5 leaders. This include President of Indonesia, Prime Minister of Portugal, UK Prime Minister, President of Chile and President of Argentina. In Brazil, Prime Minister Modi also had informal interactions and pull-aside meetings with leaders of Singapore, South Korea, Egypt, USA and Spain, and with the heads and executives of various international organizations like that of UN Chief Antonio Guterres and many others. In Guyana, PM Modi held bilateral meetings with leaders of CARICOM member nations. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi addressed the National Assembly of the Parliament of Guyana on Thursday. He is the first Indian Prime Minister to do so. The Prime Minister recalled the long-standing historical ties between India and Guyana. He noted that India's mantra of humanity first inspires it to amplify the voice of Global South, including at the recent G20 summit in Brazil.
History was made as Prime Minister Narendra Modi became the first Indian leader to address the National Assembly of the Parliament of Guyana. In his landmark address, the Prime Minister highlighted the deep historical ties between India and Guyana, rooted in centuries of shared culture, values and heritage. Expressing gratitude to the people of Guyana for the nation's highest honor bestowed upon him, he reaffirmed India's commitment to fostering global peace and unity.
मैं मानता हूं स्पेस हो, सी हो, ये यूनिवर्सल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट के नहीं बल्कि यूनिवर्सल कोऑपरेशन के विषय होने चाहिए। दुनिया के लिए भी ये समय कॉन्फ्लिक्ट का नहीं है। ये समय कॉन्फ्लिक्ट पैदा करने वाली कंडीशंस को पहचानने और उनको दूर करने का है।
Prime Minister Modi emphasized the shared democratic principles and a human-centric vision that unite India and Guyana. He underscored India's guiding philosophy of humanity first, which drives its efforts to amplify the voice of the Global South and create a more equitable world order.
जहां एक नए वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर की तरफ बढ़ना था, दुनिया दूसरी ही चीजों में उलझ गई। इन परिस्थितियों में आज विश्व के सामने आगे बढ़ने का सबसे मजबूत मंत्र है डेमोक्रेसी फर्स्ट, ह्यूमैनिटी फर्स्ट।
Highlighting India's commitment to democracy, the Prime Minister said that it is ingrained in the nation's DNA. He reiterated India's vision of serving as Vishwa Bandhu, a friend to the world, working towards uniting the global community irrespective of the size or stature of a nation.
भारत ने हमेशा प्रिंसिपल्स के आधार पर, ट्रस्ट और ट्रांसपेरेंसी के आधार पर ही अपनी बात की है। एक भी देश, एक भी रीजन पीछे रह गया तो हमारे ग्लोबल गोल्स कभी हासिल नहीं हो पाएंगे। तभी भारत कहता है एवरी नेशन मैटर्स।
Prime Minister Modi also encouraged greater collaboration between India and Guyana, particularly in education and innovation, to unlock the immense potential of the youth in both nations. Together, India and Guyana can pave the way for a brighter and more inclusive future. With Siddharth Bharadwaj in Guyana, Bureau Report, DD India.
The International Criminal Court on Thursday issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former defense minister, as well as Hamas military chief Mohammad Daif. The unprecedented move drew a furious reaction from Netanyahu, who denounced it as anti-Semitic and the court's accusations absurd and false. In a video statement, Netanyahu vowed that the warrant would not deter him from defending Israel.
The anti-Semitic decision of the International Court in The Hague is a modern Dreyfus trial, and it will end the same way. No biased anti-Israel decision in The Hague will prevent the State of Israel from defending its citizens. Israel will not recognize the validity of this decision. We will continue to do everything we must do to defend our citizens and defend our state against Iran's axis of terror.
Meanwhile, world leaders are split over ICC's arrest warrant for Netanyahu. The United States President Joe Biden has called the arrest warrants for top Israeli leaders as outrageous. In a statement, Biden said that the U.S. will always stand with Israel against threats to its security. The White House has rejected the decision by the ICC, saying the U.S. is discussing the next steps with its partners, including Israel.
We fundamentally reject the court's decision to issue arrest warrants for senior Israel officials. We remain deeply concerned by the prosecutor's rush to seek arrest warrants and the troubling process errors that led to this decision. The United States has been clear that the ICC does not have jurisdiction over this matter.
Italy considers alongside its allies how to interpret the decision of the International Criminal Court (ICC) in issuing arrest warrants for Netanyahu. This was said by Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani, who said that the court must play a legal role and not a political one. On the other hand, Turkey is positive about the decision. Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan welcomed the warrants as an extremely important step. Sweden and the European Union also support the important work of the court and safeguard its independence and integrity. Now, the U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Tel Aviv to secure a ceasefire. The U.S. envoy also met with Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz in Tel Aviv. Israel says that its aim is to secure the return of tens of thousands of people evacuated from its north due to rocket attacks by Hezbollah. The U.S. envoy also met with Lebanese Parliament Speaker Nabih Berri in Beirut. Berri has led mediation efforts on behalf of Hezbollah. Hochstein said on Tuesday that an end to the war was within their grasp. After insisting that Moscow has the right to strike countries whose weapons are used by Ukraine to hit the Russian territory, President Vladimir Putin, in a defiant message to the West, threatened that the prospect of further strikes depends on the actions of the United States and its satellites. In the ominous surprise address, Putin said Russia had test-fired a new type of hypersonic intermediate-range missile at the Ukrainian city of Dnipro that was equipped with a non-nuclear warhead. 2 people were killed and another 12 were injured in Russian drone attacks in northeastern Ukrainian city of Sumy on Friday. According to Ukrainian authorities, several buildings and vehicles were also damaged after the 3 Russian drones allegedly attacked the city. Meanwhile, Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov has said that Russian forces in Ukraine had accelerated their advance. Russian Defense Ministry said that its forces had captured the eastern Ukrainian village of Dain in the Donetsk region, which is a focal point of their advance in the 33-month-old war. The COP29 presidency on Friday released a new draft climate finance deal that would have developed nations take the lead in providing $250 billion per year by 2035. The draft also set a broader goal to raise $1.3 trillion annually by 2035, which would include funding from all public and private sources. World governments represented at the COP29 Climate Summit in Baku are tasked with agreeing a sweeping funding plan to help poorer countries tackle the worsening impacts of global warming and lowering their emissions. In the Maldives, President Dr. Mohamed Moizu has ratified the 6th constitutional amendment, introducing significant changes to its constitutional framework. Civil society groups, including Transparency Maldives, have criticized the rushed process, citing a lack of transparency, public engagement and meaningful parliamentary debate. Opposition members of the Maldivian Democratic Party also protested outside the People's Majlis, calling the amendments a threat to democratic principles. Key changes include stricter rules for altering territorial boundaries, defining maritime territories up to the exclusive economic zone, public referendums for boundary changes, parliamentary approval for foreign military deployment, an anti-defection law and mandatory national development plans. You're with us on DD India Live. Still to come on the show. India's Border Security Force organizes a bike rally in India's northeastern Tripura's Agartala on Friday. Indian bowlers restrict Australia to 67 for 7 on the first day of the first test in Perth. And IFE in Goa becomes a key platform for young students. We'll tell you how.
13th plenary meeting of the United Nations Global Geospatial Information Management for Asia and the Pacific is going to be held from the 26th to the 29th of November at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi. This plenary meeting is to be hosted by the Survey of India.
In this conference, we are going to discuss how regional collaboration will happen in various fields, just like land and cadastral management. For India, it will be useful to go for 2047 Viksit Bharat.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja. The German auto sector has been in trouble for a while and the negative headlines just keep coming. In the latest, one of the sector's most important suppliers has to cut costs. Lars Wolter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin now. Lars, what exactly are you hearing?
Thanks for having me. Well, first of all, the company we're talking about is Bosch, truly a storied German industrial company. They're a household name because one of their fields is power tools and household appliances. So I would say there's not many Germans who don't have a dishwasher or dryer, a screwdriver or a circular saw that doesn't bear the name Bosch. But there's much more to the company, including industrial machinery and technology, and of course, their automotive sector. Bosch manufactures powertrains. Their technology is on brakes for many cars, in steering. They're specialized in automotive electronics and connected mobility solutions that have more recently become a lot more important. But of course, with their automotive clients in trouble, they are now experiencing difficulties themselves, and that forces them to cut cost.
Okay, also Lars, tell us what exactly is Bosch planning?
Well, actually, they are going for a less drastic approach to cut costs than many other firms are doing these days. They're asking their employees to stay on board, but to work less. A few hundred are supposed to cut their weekly work hours from between 38 and 40 down to 35, and of course, make less money than too. That's for the main plant. In others, they're asking to cut from 40 to 37 hours. There might be further cuts a few months down the road. That is according to management. Now, they do admit they don't know if it will be enough to weather the current storm, but the CEO says that obviously it is better to cut hours than let people go. And that had been on the table actually, with up to 7,000 jobs on the line for a while.
So what problems have forced Bosch to take steps like these?
Well, it's all about the automotive business that's still in pretty bad shape. It just takes a quick look at the headlines just from the last 2 days. Volkswagen is cutting jobs and threatening to close plants. Employees are planning a strike. Some have offered to work for less money if at least plant closings can be avoided. Mercedes-Benz just announced a cost-cutting program that's supposed to save billions. They didn't say anything about job cuts, but those might come anyway. Ford just said that they will let 2,000 people go at their German plant near Cologne. That's after the US firm had invested $2 billion there. They say that sales are low, and we've been seeing this for a while now. The switch to electric mobility, as well as competition from Asia, is weighing heavily on car manufacturers here. And like we're seeing with Bosch, it is affecting other companies too.
Thank you, Lars. Lars Holt reporting from DW Berlin. Moving on. Cyclone Bomb, which clobbered the northwest area of the United States, has left catastrophic effect in California after leaving a trail of destruction in Washington, claiming the lives of 2. The cyclone is anticipated to hit the U.S. Pacific Northwest by Friday morning. Thousands of people remain without power from the torrential rain and snow still falling from the first one. About 260,000 homes and businesses remained without power in Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. Second edition of CII Gujarat's Smart Manufacturing Conclave was organized in the city of Ahmedabad. The deliberations revolved around the theme of the conclave, shaping the future of industry through technology, digitalization and sustainability. The conclave also discussed India's semiconductor sector manufacturing. DD India exclusively spoke to the in-country lead and vice president of Micron India on the construction and employment impact of a new Micron semiconductor plant in India and India's strong engineering capabilities.
We are joined in by Vishwanath Ramaswamy, who is the Vice President of Micron India. Thank you so much for talking to DD India, sir. We are talking here at the CII conclave, wherein we are discussing smart manufacturing. Obviously, looking at the semiconductor scenario and the atmosphere in India, Micron is something that everyone's looking up to. What is the situation, or the probably we can say the current status of the Sanand plant that we're talking about?
So we have our large site that is in construction right now. And we look forward to the construction to be completed, and post-completion we will start setting up our facilities in terms of ramping up our production and training and certifications, doing all the due diligence.
And when we're talking about employment prospects as well, right. How much employment do you think this plant is going to generate in and around the area, and also bringing in more skilled or qualified youngsters from across India?
Yeah, so we are very keen on our new college graduates as we continue to ramp up our workforce in India. And as communicated earlier, we intend to have around 5,000 direct jobs at Micron and 15,000 community jobs or extended jobs. Because we also look for hope rather that our supply chain ecosystem also co-locates with us in Gujarat. So hopefully with that there's additional jobs created in the community and the state.
Thank you so much, sir, for talking
Thank
to us.
you.
So here we had the Vice President of Micron India speak to us on the Micron plant that is, underway, the construction of which is underway at Sanand, and obviously the number of youngsters that it is going to employ from across India. With camera person Lakshman Rajput, this is Meghna Dev for DD India from Ahmedabad, Gujarat.
And next updates from the 55th International Film Festival of India underway in Goa. IFFI is bringing educational institutions together to showcase fresh content via the audio medium. Let's listen to some of the professors who are talking about the importance of IFFI as a key platform for young students.
Interestingly, the platform of International Film Festival of India is more about books as well, more about education as well, apart from cinema. And a stall which is the NCERT stall has also been put up in IFFIesta at this particular edition. We have with us the professors and assistant professors who've come here all the way from Delhi to put up the stall. So a very warm welcome to both of you. First of all, we would like to know what was your idea behind it when you were given the opportunity to put this stall in IFFI this time?
Basically, our idea is to showcase our production. Especially, we are working for school education. We are managing 200 school education channel, which everybody is not aware. Awareness is the first motto of our establishing this stall in IFFI. And you might be aware that we have one class, one channel under the Ministry of Education. We are running separate channel for separate class 24 hours without any cost through Dish TV and DTH. We have developed primers in 52 languages which are displayed here. Many other ICT initiatives are displayed here, and we are running so many, managing so many websites for school education and more than 15 mobile apps through which people can access to our initiatives.
That's a great thing, but why only IFFI? Why do you think that IFFI becomes an important platform for sending your message across to the people and especially the students?
So I think the audience have all the impression that IFFI belongs to the film and the movies only. But we came here to showcase our initiatives also, and we have many digital initiatives which are available on TV. The purpose of ours is that to promote and to show the audience that we are working not only in the textbook area, we are working in many digital initiatives also.
I would like to know from you that how films shape the young minds.
There's a big debate about how people say that the cinema reflects the society and the society reflects the cinema. So it really is, it's like a grey area where they both go hand in hand, and neither of them can be separated. What you show on the films, on the screens, the kids are really, they really look up to it. And then you must have seen they try to inculcate that in their own behaviors. Like, even the friendships that they have, or like if there's a product, which is why product placements also work. So there's no denial that films have a big part in shaping the young minds and in shaping the society as a whole.
All right, so there you heard from the professors here who are present at the 55th edition of IFFI, that how IFFI is providing them an opportunity to showcase that how education can also be a part of sending a message across, because cinema is just one medium, but education can also send a key message through the platform of IFFI here in Goa. With camera person Alok, this is Deepika reporting for DD India from Goa.
Australia is the country of focus this time at 55th IFI. DD India's Deepika Mehto gets you an exclusive interaction with Australian director Tom Mckee, who spoke about the strengthening bilateral ties between India and Australia.
We have with us Tom Mckee, the celebrated director of the movie A Vitro, and interestingly, it is an Australian movie. Australia is the country of focus this time at the 55th edition of IFI. Thank you so much, Tom, for talking exclusively to DD India.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Tom, first of all, we would like to know more about your movie A Vitro.
Sure. So it's a sci-fi thriller film, and it's set on a remote location in the Australian countryside on a farm. It's about a husband and wife who are doing some new farming technology to create livestock, and their relationship is not going so well. And then one night the power goes out on the farm, and they realise that there's something out there on the property, and they don't know what it is. So yeah, it's a little bit scary and set in the near future. So yeah, I'm hoping that Indian audiences respond to it and enjoy the film.
And now seeing that movie here in India, and especially among the Indian audiences, what brings you to IFI, and what is the most excited point that takes you to IFI here in India?
Well, look, it's the first time I've been here, and I've absolutely been enjoying the whole experience. And it's been amazing to meet Indian filmmakers and Indian producers and have the opportunity to talk about future collaboration and projects that we can kind of do in the future that might kind of strengthen connections between the two countries. So I think that's been the most exciting aspect of it for me, is really that opportunity to meet new people and build connections. Yeah.
The mere announcement of Australia being the country of focus of 55th edition of IFI, what sort of opportunities it brings to Australia specifically when we talk about a grand celebration of cinema like IFI?
Yeah. Well, look, there's a big Indian population in Australia, and we watch quite a lot of Indian films in our country, as well as American films as well. And I think the big opportunity for us, because we are a small country with a small market, is an opportunity to reach a larger audience. And if we can create films that can appeal to both countries, then that's certainly a benefit to Australians and to filmmakers, because we have the opportunity to share our stories with a wider audience. So I think that's a really exciting thing, and why I think collaboration between the two countries really makes sense and could be of value to everybody.
Tom, what is the most appealing thing about the Indian audience here?
Well, I've only seen one film so far in the cinema, which was All We Imagine as Light, which I think was not particularly typical of most Indian films necessarily. So it felt like a kind of conventional screen viewing to me, but I'm really excited to see some other Indian films, because I understand that the audiences that kind of really get into the film and respond, and you can really feel the way that the audience is reacting to the film. So I'm hoping that with the experience of watching In Vitro, people really enjoy the film and get into it. But look, I think there's a lot of similarities between our two countries and our cultures, and I think there's a lot that we can share in terms of films and film appreciation.
Is there any Bollywood movie that you've watched in the past or that you really like?
Well, I'm not sure what classifies as a Bollywood film, but on the plane over I watched Tiger 3. So I've seen both sides, I think, of the Indian filmmaking. I've seen Tiger, and then I saw All We Can Imagine as Light. So the full spectrum, I think. So yeah, I like both of those films in different ways. They're very different films. They're the most recent ones that I've watched so far. I really loved All We Imagine as Light. So I thought it was a beautiful film.
All right, thank you so much, Tom, for joining us.
Cheers, thank you very much.
So there you heard Tom Mckee, who talks about India-Australia relationship, because Australia happens to be the country of focus this time at the 55th edition of IFI. With camera person Alok, this is Deepika reporting for DD India from Goa.
And on to some cricketing action now. Indian bowlers restricted Australia to 67 for 7 on the first day of the first test in Perth. Indian skipper Jasprit Bumrah wreaked havoc at the start, first dismissing Nathan McSweeney, then Usman Khawaja and then Steve Smith in consecutive deliveries. Bumrah also sent Aussie captain Pat Cummins back to the dugout. Harshit Rana made his mark as well, sending Travis Head packing to get his first test wicket. Earlier, India put up 150 thanks to a valiant 41 by debutant Nitish Kumar Reddy and a 37-run stand by Rishabh Pant. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can catch all the latest news and updates from India and the world on our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja. From all of us here in New Delhi, thank you for watching. Namaskar.
This week on Defense Dynamics, we will